We are starting a new series called Soul. Partly because the movie just came out on Disney Plus, and it seemed like a good way to use the movie as a springboard to have a discussion about our souls. But first, I'd like you to close your eyes and imagine one of the most beautiful landscapes you've ever seen. Maybe it was oceans or rivers or mountains or the beach or trees or the sunset. It could be anything. Do you see that in your mind's eye? God made that. He also made everything that you haven't seen. He made things like black holes and galaxies far away, so far that we can't even really comprehend the distance. In the beginning, God created all of those things. It's pretty amazing when you think about it. Genesis 1:1 tells us that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. But God wasn't done just yet. After all those constellations and creations that he formed, God decided to do one more thing. However, he decided to do this last thing a little differently. For the last piece of creation, he added a little extra something. Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 through 27 says, "Then God said, 'Let us make mankind in our own image and our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and over the birds in the sky, over the livestock and over all the wild animals, over all the creatures that move along the ground.' So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them." You know, we could talk for days about the implications of that passage. I mean, just in those two verses, God says a lot about the sanctity of life. He talks about body image and racism and sexuality and so many other things. But for now, we're just going to land on this one idea that you were made by God to be special. If you're watching this with someone else, turn to your neighbor and say, "Hey, you're special." Maybe turn to the other person. If there's no one there, just look at yourself in the mirror and say, "Hey, you're special." You know, God made you in his image. And that's a big deal. But that's not all. The Bible gives us an even more amazing picture of humanity's creation just a few verses later. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, it says, "God formed man out of dirt from the ground, blew into his nostrils the breath of life. The man came alive, a living soul." When God created Adam and Eve, he added a little extra something. And who doesn't like that, right? Don't you like it when they add a little extra something? Like, you've got regular Cheetos, right? But then they make flaming hot Cheetos? I mean, come on. Or Oreos. I love Oreos. Double stuff, they're just, oh my word, just twice as good, right? When God created everything in the first 5 days, it was kind of like the original flavor, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, the original flavor is great. It's a classic. Who doesn't love original flavor? But how much better are sometimes the bonus flavors? Okay, maybe that's not always true, but here's the point. God made people. When he made people, he added the secret sauce. He gave them a living soul. He gave us a living soul. Here's the real crazy thing, that God still makes people the way he did back in Genesis. When God makes people, he still makes them special. It wasn't just Adam and Eve he was creating with a soul. Everyone who has ever existed has had a soul. Everyone who has ever been born has had a soul. And today, this is about understanding that you and I have a soul. Some of you may be asking, well, what exactly is a soul? And the Bible doesn't give us a word-for-word definition. But a helpful way of thinking about it is your soul is the part of you that will live forever. Even though our bodies start to fail and eventually we will pass from this earth, God created a part of you that was meant to live forever. Make no mistake, you have a soul. And I'm not talking about the bottom of your shoe. Sorry, I had to put that dad joke in there. There is a part of you that was created to exist for eternity. Your soul, which God breathed into you when you were created, is the defining attribute of what it means to be human. It is the secret ingredient, the special ingredient that God still adds to every single person who was ever created. The very last thing that God created in Genesis was humankind. It was like his epic finale, right? Paul writes in Ephesians 2:10 that we are God's masterpieces. And God looked at everything he'd made and said, it's very good. After all his creative work was done, God took a break. He called this break a Sabbath. And the word Sabbath means, well, it just simply means rest. Did God rest because he was tired? No, he rested because he was finished. And God knew that we would need to be taught an important lesson as well, that our souls are not made for constant activity. In order to keep our souls healthy, we also need to have a Sabbath rest. God made things and then he rested. And this is the natural rhythm that was given to us. Imagine you're a basketball player or a football player and your coach never called a timeout during the game or never substituted players. That would be miserable. Even the best athletes in the world need to take breaks. They need to rest and to regroup and rethink the game plan, and we do too. When we refuse to take timeouts to give our souls a Sabbath rest, things can get messy really fast. God knew that. So there's a few lessons from the Garden of Eden that tells us, Garden of Eden shows us a couple of ways to give our souls a Sabbath rest. And the number one is connect yourself to God through the natural world. Have you ever felt angry or upset and you decided to take a walk? Do you know why that sometimes helps? Because your soul has started to rest and you've started to reconnect with God. That's the way God intended for us to function. Next time you're feeling tired or worn out, take a walk in the park or go sit outside and just clear your head. It's amazing how being present in God's creation helps us connect with the Creator. The second way that we can connect with God is to connect ourselves to God through prayer. God was present with Adam and Eve in the beginning. They had a personal relationship with him. And it's pretty crazy to think that we can do the exact same thing. Jesus' death and resurrection allows us to have a personal relationship with God too. Next time your soul feels overwhelmed, spend a minute or two in prayer. Thank God for the blessings in your life. Ask him to guide you and to speak to your heart. You know, in a few weeks, we're going to be talking about King David. And he was a guy who knew a thing or two about being worn out and tired. They were chasing him. He was fearful for his life all the time. Check out what David says in one of his Psalms. Psalm 62, 1-2 says, "Truly my soul finds rest in God. My salvation comes from him. Truly he is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress. I will never be shaken." In the midst of his most difficult times, David knew there was one place he could turn. He knew that God alone provided rest for his weary soul. We all instinctively know that we need rest, but many of us don't turn to God first. We try to find rest in other things like mindless entertainment or substance abuse or destructive fantasies or other things like that. But after we binge on watching another TV show or finishing another video game or taking another drug or going through another relationship, are we really satisfied? Did we really find rest for our soul? Here's the truth for today. God created you to be with him, and your soul will only find rest in him. Let's stop running away from the one who created us. Indeed, let's run to him and find our Sabbath that we truly need. I'd like you to take that challenge I mentioned earlier seriously. Like if you need to go clear your head, go for a walk. I'm not talking about doing a 10-mile hike every day. Go for a brief walk, clear your head, talk to God. It's possible to connect through God through natural environment and prayer at the same time. Sometimes that just motivates you to do it, right? But just like Adam and Eve walked with God in the garden, our souls desperately need to spend time with God in order to be satisfied and to find rest. Remember, God created you to be with him, and your soul will only find rest in him. Thanks for joining us this week. We're going to continue for the next few weeks talking about our souls.